WTA calls it box office. Amanda Anisimova is the higher seed. She is a top 10 American. She is playing at home. Alex Eala is the younger player trying to survive one more round. Instead, the WTA used a much bigger phrase. It is going to be box office. That matters because this is not a semi-final. This is not a final. There is no trophy waiting at the end of the night. Eala and Anisimova have never even played each other before. And yet, before the first ball is struck, this match already feels bigger than its place in the draw. So why? What exactly makes a third-round match feel like an event? On paper, the story looks simple. Anisimova is the number 9 seed. She is inside the top 10. She has the kind of power that can take control of a point almost immediately. And she is playing in Cincinnati, in front of a crowd that should normally feel like home. Across the net is Alex Eala, the number 17 seed, the world number 20. A left-handed 21-year-old who has spent this season forcing people to change the way they talk about her. Not as a prospect, not as a nice story, not only as the Filipino player with loud supporters, as a threat. And that is where this match becomes complicated. The ranking favors Anisimova. The atmosphere may not. And the tennis itself may be more uncomfortable for the American than the numbers first suggest. There are 3 questions that could decide the entire night. Can Eala stop Anisimova from controlling the first 3 shots of the point? Can she turn a power match into a movement and patience match? And if the stadium becomes loud, which player actually benefits more? That is why box office is such a good description. It is not predicting the winner, it is predicting tension. And this match has plenty of it. First, remove the hype and look at where both players actually stand. Anisimova has the cleaner position. She is the number 9 seed in Cincinnati. She is a top 10 player. She is American. She arrives after beating Zeynep Sonmez in straight sets, 6-2, 6-3. Nothing about that result suggests panic. Nothing suggests a player searching for form. Anisimova handled the previous round the way an elite player should. She controlled the match, took care of business, and reached the third round without allowing the night to become complicated. Eala arrives with a different kind of momentum. She is the number 17 seed and ranked number 20 in the world. Not long ago, the conversation around her was about potential. Could she break through? Could she survive against established players? Could she turn flashes of talent into something that worked every week on tour? Those questions are fading. Now the questions are different. How far can she go? Who can she beat next? And how uncomfortable can she make players who once entered matches against her with far less to fear? This North American hard-court stretch has changed the conversation. Eala has won 8 of her last 9 matches. She captured the first WTA singles title of her career in Washington. Then she kept winning in Toronto. Then she came to Cincinnati and took control against Elena Gabriela Ruse before the match ended through retirement. The score was 6-1, 3-0. That detail matters because the retirement should be acknowledged, but so should the score before it happened. Eala was already in control, so she is not walking onto the court against Anisimova hoping to discover whether her level is good enough. She is arriving with evidence. She has been winning. She has been handling pressure, and she has been doing it while the attention around her keeps growing. That makes this very different from a simple favorite against underdog story. Anisimova has the ranking. Eala has the momentum. Anisimova has the home country. Eala may have one of the loudest groups of supporters in the building, and neither advantage guarantees anything. Now we get to the tennis. Alex Eala does not need to hit harder than Amanda Anisimova. Trying to do that may be the fastest way to lose. Anisimova is most dangerous when she can plant her feet, take the ball early, and turn the first few shots into an attack. She does not need 10 shots to hurt you. Sometimes she needs 3. A strong serve, a clean first ball, then one explosive ground stroke that changes the point. That is the version of Anisimova that Eala cannot afford to feed. So the tactical battle begins with something simple. The first 3 shots: serve, return, first ground stroke. If Anisimova owns that sequence, Eala could spend the entire match defending. But if Eala can interrupt it, even a little, everything changes. Can she force Anisimova to hit 4 shots instead of 3? Can 4 become 6? Can 6 become 8? That is where a power contest can turn into a patience contest. And patience creates a different kind of pressure. The likely tactical contrast looks like this. Anisimova wants clarity. Eala wants disruption. Anisimova wants the ball early. Eala wants to change the picture. Anisimova wants to hit from balance. Eala wants to make her move. That does not mean Eala should become passive. It means she has to understand the difference between defending and disrupting. A deeper ball through the middle can take away the easy angle. A higher ball can change the contact point. A sharp cross-court angle can pull Anisimova away from the center. A serve into the body can reduce the space for a full swing. A left-handed serve can create patterns that Anisimova has not seen directly from Eala before. None of those ideas has to look spectacular. That is the point. Eala does not need every rally to become a highlight. She needs enough rallies to become inconvenient. Because Anisimova wants clean timing. Fast ball in, fast ball out. Simple decision. Strong strike. Eala has to make the decisions less simple. She has to change height, change depth, change direction, change rhythm, and most importantly, make Anisimova move before she can attack. If Eala gets pushed behind the baseline and responds by trying to hit even harder, she may give Anisimova exactly the rhythm she wants. But if Eala can absorb pace, redirect it, then change the next ball, the point becomes less predictable. That is where this matchup becomes interesting. The first meeting means there is no previous rhythm to copy, no head-to-head pattern, no direct history. The opening games will be a live experiment. Who sees the serve better? Who controls the center of the court? Who targets the backhand first? Who becomes uncomfortable first? And who adjusts faster? That could decide more than the ranking, because rankings tell us who has produced better results over time. They do not tell us exactly how the patterns of one player will interact with the patterns of another on one specific night. Anisimova clearly deserves to be favored. But favoring one player does not mean the tactical problem is simple. Eala has a path. It begins with survival in the first few shots, then movement, then variation, then pressure. And if she can get into enough neutral rallies, she can make Anisimova answer a question that power players do not always enjoy. How patient are you willing to be? That question becomes even more important when the score gets tight. A forehand that looks open at 2-1 can feel different at 4-all. A backhand down the line that feels automatic at 15-love can feel more dangerous at 30-all. The shot has not changed. The pressure has. That is tennis. And this is where the crowd enters the match. Normally, Cincinnati should feel like home court for Anisimova. She is American. She is the higher seed. She is a top 10 player. But this may not feel like a normal home court match. Eala has been attracting loud Filipino support from tournament to tournament. The flags are visible. The chants are easy to hear. The atmosphere around her matches has started to feel bigger than the round itself. Anisimova already knows this. She has talked about expecting a packed stadium. She has acknowledged the support around Eala. And importantly, she has also made it clear that she enjoys big atmospheres. That changes the crowd story. The simple version would be easy. Eala gets the support. Anisimova gets uncomfortable. But real tennis is rarely that simple. The same noise that lifts Eala could also energize Anisimova. One player may feed on support, the other may feed on resistance. That is what makes the atmosphere so interesting. The crowd does not score points. The crowd does not hit serves. The crowd does not return forehands. But the crowd can change what the next point feels like. Imagine a long rally at 30-all. Eala survives. Anisimova attacks. Eala finds one more ball. The rally keeps going. Then Eala wins it. The score changes by 1 point. Emotionally, the match may change by much more. The noise gets louder. The walk back to the baseline feels different. The next serve carries more pressure. Now reverse it. Imagine Anisimova blasting a return winner through that noise. She turns toward her box. The American crowd responds. Suddenly, Eala is reminded that support does not guarantee control of the atmosphere. That is why the crowd is not automatically an advantage for one player. It is a pressure amplifier, and both players have to manage it. Eala has experience riding an emotional wave from the stands that can create resilience. A bad service game does not feel like the end when thousands of people are still behind you. A missed opportunity does not empty the stadium. The support remains. But support has another side. Expectation. When people arrive hoping for another Eala moment, every missed breakpoint can feel heavier. Every slow start becomes more noticeable. Every mistake creates a reaction. Support can lift you. Support can also remind you how badly people want you to win. Anisimova faces a different pressure. She is the higher seed. She is the top 10 player. She is the American playing in the United States. If she controls the match early, everything feels normal. But if Eala breaks first, if the crowd erupts, if a third-round match suddenly starts feeling like a final, then Anisimova has to solve a different emotional problem. Can she stay aggressive without becoming impatient? That balance matters. When a power player feels a match slipping, the instinct can be to hit harder. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it accelerates the problem. One forehand misses, then another. A first serve disappears. One bad minute becomes a break. That is how the crowd becomes part of the match. Not through magic, through adrenaline, through decision-making, through risk, through the ability to reset after something goes wrong. And that is why the most important crowd moments may not come after spectacular winners. They may come at 30, all, at deuce, on breakpoint. Those are the moments when 1 point can feel like 3, but crowd energy only matters if the player creating it gives people a reason to believe. That is the biggest difference in the Eala story right now. The attention is no longer arriving without results. The results are creating the attention. Washington is the clearest example. Eala won the first WTA singles title of her career there. A title is not one good match. It is not one opponent having a bad day. You have to come back again and again. Different opponent, different style, different pressure. You keep solving problems until there is nobody left in the draw. That gave Eala something more valuable than hype, proof. Then came Toronto. Instead of disappearing after the title, she kept moving forward. That matters because breakthrough players often face a difficult period after a major week. The body is tired. The attention is bigger. Every opponent has new video. Every coach has new data. You are no longer surprising people. They are preparing for you. Eala kept winning anyway. That is why the sequence matters. Not crowd first, tennis second. Tennis first, then crowd. The winning created the belief. The belief created the atmosphere. And now the atmosphere follows her from tournament to tournament. Cincinnati is the next test. Not because beating Anisimova would suddenly prove everything, and not because losing would erase what Eala has already done, but because this matchup asks a new question. Can the current rise survive against a top 10 player with the power to remove time from almost every rally? That is a serious test, and it arrives at the exact moment when the public story around Eala is also getting bigger. Earlier this month, Marriott Bonvoy announced Eala as the face of its Tennis the World campaign across Asia-Pacific, excluding China. That does not tell us who wins this match. It is not tennis evidence, but it tells us something about the scale of attention around her. A major global brand is now seeing what tournament crowds have already been showing. Eala is moving through stages. First, promising player. then breakthrough player, then title winner, then crowd attraction, now increasingly marketable star. That combination creates a different kind of pressure. There are many talented players. There are many popular players. The rare ones are the players who begin becoming both. Because once that happens, every big match carries two stories. What happens in the draw? And what happens to the place of that player in the sport? That is what makes Anisimova such an important opponent. She is not simply another name between Eala and the next round. She is a top 10 test. She has the power to expose short balls immediately. She can take time away before a rally becomes comfortable. She can punish hesitation. And she has already shown that she is comfortable entering this match with confidence. So Eala cannot wait for Amanda to collapse. She has to create the problem herself. That means returning with depth. That means using the left-handed geometry of the court. That means making Anisimova hit while moving. That means refusing to turn the match into a simple race for the biggest ground stroke. And above everything else, it means making one more ball matter. That phrase sounds small. One more ball. But against a player who wants to finish points early, one more ball can change the entire emotional structure of a rally. 3 shots becomes 4, 4 becomes 6, 6 becomes 8. Then suddenly Anisimova is not only hitting, she is deciding. Attack now? Wait? Change direction? Play safer? Go for the line? Every extra decision creates another chance for hesitation. And hesitation is where Eala can find opportunity. That may be her biggest opening. Not trying to become more powerful than Anisimova. Trying to make Anisimova less comfortable than she wants to be. If Eala can do that early, the crowd may begin to believe. If the crowd begins to believe, the pressure rises. If the pressure rises, every aggressive decision becomes a little more expensive, and then the match can become exactly what the WTA suggested. Box office. Not because somebody promised a classic. Not because Eala is guaranteed to win. Not because Anisimova is guaranteed to dominate. Because there is uncertainty with real stakes. If Anisimova wins, the message is straightforward. The top 10 player handled the pressure. Her first strike tennis held up. Her experience and power stopped the Eala surge before it could grow even larger in Cincinnati. But if Eala wins, the conversation changes again. It becomes more difficult to describe her as simply a breakout player riding one great stretch. It becomes more difficult to separate the crowd story from the competitive story. And it becomes more difficult for established players to treat her as a dangerous outsider instead of a serious threat. That is what is waiting inside this match, not a trophy, not a final. A test of whether the current version of Alex Eala can force a top 10 player into her kind of night. So watch the first 3 shots. Watch the return position. Watch whether Eala can move Anisimova before Anisimova attacks. Watch what happens when rallies reach 6 shots, 8 shots, 10 shots. Watch the score at 30 all. Watch the first break point. Watch what happens when the stadium gets loud. Those details may tell us more than the ranking. Anisimova has the power. Eala has the momentum. Anisimova has the higher seed. Eala has the left-handed patterns and the growing belief. Anisimova is playing in America. Eala may walk into a stadium filled with people trying to make it feel like home for her. That is the contrast. That is the pressure. That is the uncertainty. And that is why a third-round match in Cincinnati suddenly feels like something much bigger. The WTA called it box office. Now the players have to prove what kind of show it becomes.